All right, so if you missed math class today, we are doing lesson 1-2, order of operations. And our first vocabulary word, a numerical expression, is an expression that contains numbers and operations. To evaluate or find the value of a numerical expression, use a set of rules called the order of operations. Now, you may have heard them called PEMDAS. And we start out with parentheses. That's what the P is for, parentheses. Then E is for exponents. And then MD, multiplication and division. Those are a package deal left to right. Same thing with addition and subtraction. They are a package deal left to right. And you can see that all right here as well. So it is really 4 steps. You do everything in the parentheses, then the exponents, then multiplication and division left to right, addition and subtraction left to right. So here's our first example. We've got 12 minus 2 times 4. Using our PEMDAS, we don't have any parentheses, so we'll skip that. We don't have any exponents, so we'll skip that. So next is multiplication and division left to right. And we do have this multiplication of 2 times 4, which is 8. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring down the 12 minus. Now I've done all the multiplication and division, so now I'm left with addition and subtraction, and we've got 12 minus 8 equals 4. And I always do my order of operations. It kind of looks like a piece of pizza with a pepperoni answer is how I always say it, and it keeps it nice and neat. All right, moving to our next example that we have. Now you'll see that we have 2 sets of parentheses. We have the curved parentheses in the middle, and then outside of that we have our boxy looking parentheses. We call those brackets a lot of times. So I'm going to go to the innermost parentheses, and I'm going to start out with the 4 plus 2 equals 6. And now that I'm done with those parentheses, I'm just going to put in the times 5, bring those brackets down, bring down the 60 divided by. Now I'm ready for my outer parentheses. So I've got that 6 times the 5 for that, and that gives us a 30. I'm going to bring down my divided by and my 60. And now I'm going to do my 60 divided by 30, and that is 2. So there is our next example. There's our pizza with our pepperoni answer. Moving on to our next example that we have. Now, we do have parentheses, so we're going to go ahead and go into those parentheses. Within those parentheses, though, I still use the order of operations, so you can see that there is an exponent here that I need to go ahead and do. So my exponent of 2 cubed means 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So this 2 cubed becomes an 8, and that's plus the 7 times the 6 and the 30 divided by. So I went ahead and did that step. Now I'm going to do the rest of the parentheses. So I will do my 7 plus 8 is 15. I'll bring my 30 divided by down and my times 6 down. All right, now I finished those parentheses, and now I already did the exponents because they were inside of the parentheses, so I had to do that. I don't have any other exponents at all. So now I'm going to do multiplication and division, and for this you go ahead and do them left to right. So in this case, I'm doing the division first. So 30 divided by 15 is 2, and then times the 6 gives me 12 as my final answer. Oops, I went backwards. Here we go. Here is my pizza with my pepperoni answer. All right, and let's do our next example. Now, this one looks a little bit different. You can see that we've got what kind of looks like a fraction, 8 minus 2 over 3. When you see that fraction bar, that really means division. So we're going to rewrite this problem using that fraction bar as a division problem. So I am actually going to write it out as 9 plus, and since the whole 8 minus 2 is the numerator of the fraction, I'm going to put those in a parentheses because that numerator has to stay all together, and then divided by 3. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and follow that order of operations. So I'm going to do the parentheses first. 8 minus 2 equals 6. Bring down my 9 plus and my divided by 3. There's no exponents, so I'm going to move to multiplication and division. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Bring down my plus 9. And that's all I have left. So 9 plus 2 is 11. And there is my pizza with my pepperoni answer. All right, next one that we have here, if we take a look at it, we're going to go ahead and do those parentheses. We'll do those first. So we're going to go ahead and do our 13 plus 7, and that gives us 20. But in this case, you'll notice that right here, between this parenthesis and this 8, there's no operation. Whenever there is a number right up against a parenthesis, that means multiplication. So I have to leave that parenthesis here to show this multiplication of the 8. And then 10 minus, and then divided by 4 squared. So now I have done the 13 plus 7 in the parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and move to exponents, and I'm going to do the 4 squared. So 4 times 4 is 16. And I'll bring down everything else that we haven't done yet. All right, so now I am ready for multiplication and division. And like I said, this 8 up against the parentheses means 8 times the 20. And 8 times 20 is 160. So I'll go ahead and put that. And then I will go ahead and do the 10 minus and the divided by 16. All right. So now I'm going to continue with my multiplication and division. Next, I've got this division. 160 divided by 16 is going to give me 10. Then I'll bring down the 10 minus, and 10 minus 10 is 0. So there we go. I've got my pizza with my pepperoni answer of 0. Okay, our next example is in your textbook on page 12, and I'm going to read what it says, and I kind of drawn a little bit of it. It says, the diagram shows landing zones for skydivers. Zone 1, which is this one right here, is for experts. The remaining space is divided in half and designed for zones 2 and 3. For tandem divers, what is the area of zone 2? So we're trying to find the area of zone 2 right here. So they have showed us that for the entire area, this right here is 40 yards, this here is 40 yards. They've also shown us that zone 1 is 20 yards by 20 yards. Then they've taken the remaining and split it in half. So if we find the area of the entire space, we're just going to take 40 times 40, which is also known as 40 squared. Then we need to take away zone 1, which is the 20 times the 20, or 20 squared. So we need to do that first. We need to do our 40 times 40 minus our 20 times 20. But then, because we only want zone 2, we only want half of it. So there's two ways you could show this expression. You could either say this first one, half of, meaning you're going to multiply half of 40 squared minus 20 squared, or you could do 40 squared minus 20 squared divided by 2, because timesing by a half and multiplying by a half and dividing by 2, they mean the same thing. So the first thing we need to do, though, is 40 squared, which is 1,600, minus, and 20 squared is 400. So then we're going to go ahead and subtract 1,600 minus 400, and we get 1,200. Now you can either do 1/2 times 1,200, or you could do the 1,200 and you could divide that by 2, which, you know, a lot of times I feel like that's a little bit easier if the numbers are easy to work with. So I'm going to do my 1,200 divided by, oops, I'm supposed to divide that by 2. I don't know why I wrote 6. You're supposed to divide that by 2, like I had up here, to split it in half. So 1,200 divided by 2 gives us that 600. So then we know that zone 2 is going to be 600 yards squared. All right, so if you missed class, I want you to now go to page 11 in your textbook and go ahead and do 7 through 9 and email those for me to get credit for being in class today. And then you are going to go to, for the assignment, you're going to be doing pages 13 through pages 14, and you will be doing all of the problems between 14 through 24. You'll do 32, 33, 38, 39, and 42. All right, and then you will upload those to Canvas. When you do your work, I want to see those pizzas with your pepperoni answers on your piece of paper, and make sure that you label all of your problems. And that is it for today.